Hello, I'm Charles Coves, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Coves Show. In this week's show, my big idea is that you do indeed have enough time for what you want, to do what you want, to experience what you want. Most of you have over 50 discretionary hours with which to play each week. I share an exercise with you in this week's episode to prove that this is so and to help you raise your awareness of this time so that you don't live your life under the constant nagging feeling of stress and strain because you feel you don't have enough time. That's a shocking way to live. This week's episode shows you how not to live that way and to live life with elegance, knowing that you have all the time there is. Stick around. This weekly show is founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Self-awareness plus passion equals success. Your self-awareness plus your passion will give you success. And success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideal. Since 1993, when I left my successful legal career, I have educated, provoked, inspired audiences and individuals to discover and live their lives with passion. And I've done that through conferences, through workshops, through team building programs, over short, medium and long terms. I've written 2 books on the topic of passion, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance, both of which are available on our websites that I will tell you about a bit later. Those books have helped people gain new perspectives on their lives, and living life with passion gives you a whole new experience of life. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket, red, the colour of passion. So when you see red in your day-to-day living, I want you to think about passion. And are you living your life with passion? Or are you taking the steps to discover your passion, your many passions? And remember, some cynics might go, I can't be passionate about my work. Well, picture your work as giving you the fuel to pursue your passion, to enable you to pursue your passion, which might be playing cards on Friday night, which might be going fishing, as I heard at a funeral that I went to this week of a wonderful Hungarian man who made a wonderful contribution to the Hungarian community here in Melbourne. And he was mad about fishing and mad about cards. And every Thursday, with his mates, he would be playing cards. He was also mad about making his own wine and making the famous Hungarian drink Pálinka. So if you don't know about Pálinka, P-A-L-I-N-K-A, look it up. It's wonderful stuff. There's a wonderful Hungarian saying that says, 1 Pálinka is medicine, 10 Pálinkas is health food. Aha, try it out. 43% proof alcohol generally. In this show I explore one big idea that can change your life, or that at least I think can change a person's life if you embrace the idea. And one idea, because I don't want to bombard you with too many ideas, because when there are too many ideas we just don't do anything because we are in a state of confusion. So this is episode 57, so I've shared 57 big ideas so far since this show started. The ideas from previous shows are well worth exploring and are readily accessible on YouTube if you're watching it, or on podcasts. And as you hear me say often, if you enjoy this show, please share it with your friends, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to with your families. I would be most grateful. This show is not politically correct. It certainly supports wonderful addictions that we can have, like my addiction to coffee. Oh, thank you, Julie. The Breakfast of Champions. I am recording this in the morning for those of you who might not know what time of the day it is. This show also subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. I think anyone who denies the human spirit is denying an extraordinary part of our humanity. I think the evidence is overwhelming. The fact that we have a spiritual life. We are much more than just what you can see on a day-to-day basis. And each week, for regular viewers and listeners, would know that I share some humour, a quote, the book of the week, the song of the week, a health tip and a spiritual tip. So, what's happened in the past week? Well, here we are in May 2021, the second day of May. And the global shenanigans continue, the global geopolitical shenanigans. Now that there's a new president in the US, how that's impacting on Iran, on NATO, and then the Chinese questions around the threat of China to the Asian region, the Belt and Road initiatives, all of that's in the news. And you know, this question of what one should be thinking about that. If you've studied history, you look at what Hitler was like in the mid-1930s, and people were saying Hitler's going to go to war, and other people said no, and right now people are saying China's going to go to war, and other people say it's not. Interesting questions. Difficult, complex questions. Can we learn from history? Also, during the week, discussions around vaccines, the safety of COVID vaccines, of flu vaccines. I have some friends who've had a flu vaccine and suddenly, miraculously, they're sick. I've never had a flu vaccine in my life. I never will. I will never have a COVID vaccine. I promise you, I won't, because it's not truly a vaccine. It is a gene therapy. And take it knowing that it has had nothing like the normal safety testing of a vaccine that you might be willing to take. So that is an issue of your awareness, of you educating yourself, so that your children get the best advice from you and your parents get the best advice from you. We've also had the ongoing argument that the science is settled around vaccines. Bullshit. And you just all you have to do is look at the different rules in states in Australia, states in the US, the countries of the European Union. They've all got different answers. So if the science is settled, how come they've all got different alleged answers? The science is never settled. Even now we're having people argue that there's not just two sexes, not just two genders of male, female. Like, hello. And it's been interesting in this week of the Oscars. I was delighted to see the absolute collapse to less than half of the previous minimum audience for watching the Oscars. It is such a promoter of cancel culture, of wokeness, of virtue signalling, of identity politics, all of which I reject. So I love the fact that these Hollywood actors prancing around there thinking that they're better than everybody else because of their woke bullshit. I'll say that word again, I don't use it often, but wokeness is bullshit. I will fight against it forever, as I will fight against cancel culture. How dare anybody cancel another person for having a different point of view? You know, this whole cancel culture wokeness is about having a particular point of view approved by a particular group of people. Just look at the antithesis of freedom of speech that is. Anyway, the people are waking up. Hollywood stars, quote stars, what would they know about such important matters? Just because they get a job acting, just because they're celebrities, why on earth would they know something? Why? Now, they're human beings. I respect them as human beings, but I don't respect their opinions in many cases because they simply don't know what they're talking about. They're talking because they've got a platform, because they're celebrities. We live in the age of celebrity. Think about how stupid that is. Oh, so if someone's a celebrity, then they must know what they're talking about. It's like a newsreader on the news. And then they turn up at some other function. People treat them as demigods because they're on TV, and that their opinions are of much greater value than their own because they're reading the news, which is hugely censored in any event. So I was delighted to see that pushback against those matters. Anyway, that's the week that was. I hope your week was okay. I am very concerned that the lockdowns, the science around that, please study that, because what England's going through and what certain states in the US are going through compared to other states, I think is destroying huge numbers of lives. The one other thing that I wish to announce is that I've been a member of the Commonwealth Golf Club here in Victoria since 1983, and I qualified to be a member of the 100 Club. So that was a pretty big deal. Maybe I'll tell you about that one day, but on the day after Anzac Day, on Monday the 26th of April, I played in the inaugural 100 Club golf tournament. So that was great fun during the week. And of course, I maintained my training regime. So just mentioning that so that you don't think that with all this other stuff that I'm doing that I don't have time to exercise. I always have time to exercise. And that, of course, when we're talking about time, and since this topic is about don't fall into the I don't have time trap, time is very relevant. Before we get to explore more about this idea, I invite you to visit our websites, covest.com, charlescovest.com. Invest in my books, Passionate People Produce Passionate Performance. Subscribe to Passion Points to Ponder. And I have a brand new giveaway for you on the self-awareness and passion quest. It is a resource that you can now download from the website that I think you would get great value from reading. So today's big idea. I say don't fall into the I don't have time trap. You have all the time there is. A new awareness of time, the time that you have, can change your whole experience of life on a moment by moment, a day by day, week by week basis. I invite you to contemplate this possibility. I first got involved in this whole thinking of time that in a big way when I met Stig Enbom in 1979 at an Edward de Bono seminar. And I went to the Edward de Bono seminar because I was always interested in thinking in different ways. And Stig was the licensee in Australia for TMI, Time Manager International. I bought my Time Manager International diary from him. I was sitting beside him in the front row at the de Bono seminar. I wasn't drinking coffee like I am now. And I bought the Time Manager system to help me get better at managing time. Now, of course, there's not time management at all because you can't manage time. What you can manage is yourself so that you make the best use of your time. In any event, that started me on this wonderful journey of conscious and constant awareness around time, of the valuing of time, of using time in wonderful ways. My next big insight was a couple of years later when one of my friends, a chartered accountant by the name of Irving Cohen, originally from America, was working in Melbourne, and he was running education programs for chartered accountants, or accountants mainly. I was a tax lawyer, had lots to do with accountants, and I said to Irving one day, I said, I don't have time. I don't have time to go to the farm because, I've been a part owner with my family of an organic farm for a long time. We've had an organic farm for over 45 years. No chemicals on this farm. How about that? And I said to Irving, I don't have time to go to the farm. And he said to me, bullshit. And I really got upset. I said, what do you mean? I don't have time. I'm running a legal practice. I don't have time. He said, if you want to be there, you will be there. Just think about that. If you want to do something, you go and do it. You do have the time. And he was right. And it woke me up. I do have the time. I did have the time. Lying to yourself that you don't have time is very disempowering. So I learned not to do that. So it gets to this question in terms of your self-management of priorities. What do you want? Because think about it. You end up doing what you want to do, not what you need to do. And for those of you who are in selling, people buy what they want, not what they need. They buy on emotion. I want this, and then they justify it. I need this as well. Okay? And so understanding your priorities, and that requires you then to understand your purpose, the meaning of your life, your vision, your goals, so that you can make good decisions that says, that's important to me. And so becoming aware of these priorities then gives you awareness around time, and you go, I want to do this. Now, don't have goals for your life because you think you should have them. Because there's no driver there for the want. Go deep. That's why passion's so powerful. Because you go, what do I really, really want? And that awareness helps you make great personal behavior decisions, because you go, I want to go to the farm. I want to go horse riding. I want to spend time with my children, not I should spend time with my children. Because we do what we want to do. Being aware of time, having a high awareness of time, valuing time, changes your life. And in my experience, most people do not value their time, do not handle it well, and it's one of your only 3 sources of power. You have energy, you have money, and you have time. And energy and money are replaceable, but time is not. It's a wonderful, precious resource. You have all of it that there is, 168 hours in a week, just like I do. So you can't say, I don't have time. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Every morning when you wake up, I've got another 24 hours. I do have time. So let me take you through a quick exercise that will prove to you that you have a huge amount of discretionary time. I'll use me as an example, and I call this the News D exercise, NEWSD. Do an analysis of the time that you spend in an average week on 4 elements. NEWS, news, and that will give you D, your discretionary time. N is your necessities, E is exercise, W is work, S is sleep. I give myself 2 hours a day for the necessities of life. Ablutions, toilet, food. Exercise, I do 10 hours a week. So 14 hours a week on N. Exercise is 10. W, work, I work 70 hours a week. And S is sleep. I sleep 50 hours a week. On average, 6 nights, but I'll give myself 7 nights. 7 sevens are 49. That adds up to 10 plus 14 plus 70 plus 50, 144 hours. I still have 24 discretionary hours a week. And I promise you, when you do this exercise, because over 28 years of running workshops, when people have done this exercise, almost everybody has more than 50 discretionary hours a week. And they go, what on earth do I do with all of this time? And they don't have an answer for that question. And that wake up, when you wake up and you go, wow, I've got vast amounts of time. I've got all this discretionary time. Now, you can make a decision. Yes, but I've got to spend time with my children. No, you don't. That's a choice. Everything that you do is a choice, including news, of course. But that gives you a framework for thinking about your usage of time. So use your time with wisdom. Change your experience of time. You don't have to live your life in this constant state of, I don't have enough time. Yes, you do. And then suddenly stresses and strains of time pressures reduce enormously. And you've heard me say on the show previously that stress at 110% of what your capability is will kill you. And zero stress will kill you. And so this one awareness around time could be just the stress relief that you need to change your whole experience of life. Try it. Send me an email to charles@covest.com. Let me know how you went, because people who have embraced this idea have indeed changed their experience of life, have learnt how to have an appreciation for the hours that they have, and have stopped wasting their time collapsed in front of a television, doing nothing, thinking nothing, and just letting this wonderful gift of life that we have disappear. So that then leads us to this week's song, which is "Time is on my side." Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I say to you, time is on your side. Famous song by the Rolling Stones. But there's a whole new perspective of this song, "Time is on my side." And if you read the words of it, the lyrics, think about it as God, for those of you who believe in God. And God says, "'Cause I got the real love, the kind that you need. You'll come running back." I knew you would one day. You'll come running back, like I told you before. You'll come running back to me. And I think going back to your spiritual values, that's another metaphor that you might have, that it's God singing this song. Time is on my side. And your spirit is waiting for you to get back in touch, because time is on the side of spirit, because spirit lives in timeless spiritual world. Nice thought for you to contemplate. Now, since we're talking about time, a spot of humour. I got a wedding invite recently that said Charles Cobest +1, so I turned up an hour late. And there's another wonderful saying, the early bird gets the worm, but the late worm gets to live. There's a thought for you. Sometimes being first is not a good idea. My book of the week is Alex Mackenzie, The Time Trap, a classic book on time management. There might be later books, but I loved that book and the way that Alex Mackenzie was famous through the 70s for this book. It's wonderful for helping you craft priorities. You might have another book. Today's show might be a reminder for you to get your favourite time management book. This week's quote is not a one-liner, a two-liner, but a longer piece, but very relevant to time. Enjoy and feel these beautiful words written by an unknown author. I've saved this, gosh, I can't remember, such a long time ago that I saved this quote, but I think it's beautiful. Youth is not entirely a time of life. It is a state of mind. It is not wholly a matter of ripe cheeks, red lips, or supple knees. It is a temper of the will, a quality of the imagination, a vigour of the emotions, a freshness of the deep springs of life. It means a temperamental predominance of courage over timidity, of an appetite for adventure over love of ease. Nobody grows old by merely living a number of years. People grow old only by deserting their ideals. Years may wrinkle the skin, but to give up interest wrinkles the soul. Worry, doubt, self-distrust, fear and despair. These are the long years that bow the head and turn the growing spirit back to dust. Whatever your years, there is in every being's heart the love of wonder, the undaunted challenge of events, the unfailing childlike appetite for what next, and the joy and the game of life. You are as young as your faith, as old as your doubt, as young as your self-confidence, as old as your fear, as young as your hope, as old as your despair. In the central place of every heart, there is a recording chamber. So long as it receives messages of beauty, hope, cheer and courage, so long are you young. When the wires are all down and your heart is covered with the snow of pessimism and the ice of cynicism, then, and then only, are you grown old. Contemplate that. Listen to that again. That's why I do this show, so that you will never grow old, so that there is plenty of time, because you won't grow old. You will remain childlike. My spiritual tip for you is to cultivate and practice an awareness of your spirit in any environment that you're in. Last night, Julie and I were at a very rowdy football club function for the wonderful Mulgrave Football Club. Noise everywhere. And in that environment, I could still observe my spirit, my soul, my heart. Observe, while the outside is all crazy, have a look on the inside. Be in touch with your spirit on an ongoing, frequent basis during the day. Observe. Be conscious of your spirit. And my health tip, understand the link between time, your energy, and your health. Because if you are healthy, you have more energy. That's why I do all the exercise that I do. Every hour of exercise gives me 2 hours of increased productivity. So if I exercise 10 hours a week, I'm getting 20 plus hours a week of extra productivity. My net gain is 10 hours a week. Exercise doesn't cost. Taking steps to be healthy doesn't cost you time. It creates time. So my health tip is to understand the link between your health, your energy, and your good use of the 168 hours each week that you are given. So, I've run out of time. Haha, you see, I don't have enough time because I don't want to take more of your time. I hope today's show provokes you to a whole new awareness of how much time you actually have, so that you live life in an elegant way, pursuing what you want, and you have high awareness of what you want and high awareness of the use to which you put your available time. I again invite you to visit our websites, covest.com, charlescovest.com. Get hold of that new download on self-awareness and passion. Subscribe to Passion Points. Get in touch with us if you have any questions, suggestions of topics you'd like me to cover. I've got plenty on, but if there's something you particularly want me to cover, I'm certainly happy to consider it. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast. Please share this if you think it's good enough with your friends, family, networks. And finally, thank you for being with us. Thank you for supporting the show. Have a brilliant week full of great management of yourself so that you use time well, plenty of fun, passion, embracing of challenges. Thank you for being with us. I look forward to being with you next week. Bye.